Hello everyone, welcome back. In this session, we are going to learn about decorators in Python. So, Python decorators are used to modify the behavior of the function without modifying the function itself. Okay, it is a design pattern that allows to add new functionality to an existing function. That is, without changing a function, we can add new functionality to it. Okay, let's see how we can do that. Let's take an example. Let's say we have simple function. Okay, that just prints, let's say, hello world. Example, let me write a function here. F1, F1, and I'm just printing hello world. Okay, now I want to call this function, right? So I just give F1 and run this. It's printing hello world. Okay. So let's assume that we don't have access to this function. Okay. This function is somewhere else and we are simply using it. Or we want to make an additional changes to this function. For example, instead of simply printing hello world, it should print program started and program completed, before printing and after printing hello world. So what we can do, we can just add a line here, print program started, and then after this again we can add a line saying program completed. That means we are changing the functionality of the function f1, right? If I run this, the functionality has been changed. Now it is printing program started and then hello world and then program completed. So normally what we do to change the functionality of a function, we modify the function. Okay. But let's say we don't have the privilege to modify this function, but we want to achieve the same goal. So this modifying this function is not an option, right? Let's say. So what we can do is we can basically what we want to do is we want to modify this function. In other words, we want to decorate this function, right? We want to put some additional decoration to this function or modify this function. So what we'll do is we'll create another function. Okay, so I'm creating another function, let's say f2, and in that function I will accept this function f1. Okay, so let me write that. We'll have a function inside the other function called wrapper, and then here I am printing program started and then calling this f. Okay? And then again I am printing program completed. All right. So what happened now? Then after doing this, we have to return this wrapper function. What I'm doing is I'm making changes to the functionality of f1, right? How did I do is what I want to do is this f1 function I want to pass to f2 function, right? With f as a argument. So f is going to be f1. And then inside f2, I have another function called wrapper. In that wrapper, I'm giving program started and running the function f, which is actually f1. And then I'm printing program completed, right? So in order to pass or decorate this f1 function, I need to give this at symbol and then give F2. Now what will happen is when we call F1 from line number 13, it will come to this line number 10, but instead of executing hello world, what it will do is, because there is a decorator here, F2, what it will do is it will pass the entire function to F2 function. So the whole F1 function will go to the F2 function as F, right? F is going to be the F1 function. Then it is executing the wrapper function which is inside F2. What it is doing is it is printing program started, and then it is calling the function F, which is nothing but hello world. And then it is printing program completed and coming out of that function. So let's run this program and see whether we got the desired output or not. You see, I got program started, hello world, and program completed. That means this additional functionality to this F1 I have made by creating another function, which is actually a decorator. So F2 is a function, but actually it is a decorating F1 function, right? It is putting an additional, functionality to F1 function without changing the F1 function, right? That is the purpose of decorators. That is how we use decorators to modify a function without changing it. All right, now let's see another example. Okay, let's say I have a function here called result. Okay, then I'm capturing some marks, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going for I in marks. If I is less than, okay, if any of these marks is less than 33, then we are printing failed, and then we are coming out of the loop. Else, now this else is for the for loop, then we are printing here past. So this is very simple function which will, so let me call this, then you'll get more clarity what it is doing. So I'm calling this result function and passing few scores, let's say 45, 37, and 12, and 90. I want to call result function by passing these four elements. So it will come here, result function, marks will be all these four values, and I have to pass these four values as a list. Okay. Alright. This list will go to this result function, and then it will loop through each and every item in that list. If any of the score is less than 33, it is going to print failed, and then it will come out of the loop. If nothing is less than 3, then it will come to this else part and print passed. See, it is printing failed because one score is less than 33, 12, right? That's why it is printing fail. If I increase this, if I make it as, let's say, 87, now all these codes are greater than 33, it is going to print passed. So this is the scenario. So we have a function which is doing this activity. Okay, well and good. Now I want to put an additional functionality to this function, saying if the total marks of this student is greater than 200, then we have to print distinction. Okay, distinction is what we need to print. Now one way is I can come to this function and make modification, right? So let's say if you are not allowed to do that, if we are not allowed to make any changes to this function, but still we want to achieve that goal of printing distinction, what we will do, we'll create a decorator. Okay, I'm going to create a decorator. Let's say uh, decorate result. Okay, the function name. And then I'm making it as a result. Okay, and then here wrapper function we need, right? Wrapper. And then here I am giving taking a sum of marks, which is all the value. If sum of marks is greater than, let's say, 200, then I am going to excuse me, I'm going to print distinction. Okay, that's it. And going to now I'm going to call the result function, okay, with marks, and then return wrapper. Okay, so I've written a decorator function. I'll be able to call that, right? So here, if you want to call decorator before this result, I have to give at the rate and then give decorator function name. Now, what will happen whenever I'm calling this result function, passing this parameter, it will come to this line number 8, and what it will do is it will pass the entire function, entire result function, along with the attributes to the decorator function. Now, this result function will be what result was earlier. Okay. Now, here, okay, in this I have to accept marks also. So, in this wrapper function also has the same parameter marks. So what we are doing, we are calculating if sum of marks is greater than 200 distinction, and then you call a regular result function. That means this pass and fail will anyway print, right? But now in addition to that, distinction also will be printed. So let's run this. Okay, there is an issue over here. Okay, it is going to loop through each and every item. Okay. Actually, not result. This result function is what we need to use because we are passing this result function as a parameter, right? So it will have access to only result function, not result. Result give result function. If you run this program, it's printing distinction and also passed, right? Because the total value is greater than 200, so that is why it is printing distinction. Yeah, this is the advantage of using decorator. That means, see, the calling is still same result and this parameter I'm calling. So if I simply comment this decorator line, right? Simply comment this. Now it will straight away call result function. And it is going to print failed or pass. That's it. See, pass or failed is printing. This decorator, whatever we have done, is not taking into account. But if you want to add an additional functionality called distinction, that's why we wrote this decorator function and it is doing the task. So before calling this result function, it is printing distinction. For that, I have to give here at the rate and the decorator function name. Right now, if you see, if I run this program, it's printing distinction and passed. All right. So this is another example where we can use decorators. All right. So with this, we'll end this session. Try to use more examples where we need to modify, a function without modifying that function. Take those examples and write more decorators to make this concept clear. All right. Thank you.